I love that story. I've got to tell you this story. And she said, I'd like to fuck Angry Anderson.
Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Border City Rock Talk, where you get great news, great interviews, great interviewees with sometimes a comedic touch. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, and comment below. Actually, guys, make sure you do hit the subscribe and the like buttons now. Get that algorithm rolling. Today, I've got legendary Australian politician, actor, musician, writer, everything under the and there's stuff I don't even know about. Angry Anderson, how are you doing, Angry?
I'm good, mate. Thank you, Cobber. That's a really lovely introduction. I am an amateur writer, and I've written for publications, so for public consumption for many years. And a friend of mine that used to work syndicate to newspapers right around the country. He's one of our most recognized cartoonists. He's retired now, and his forte was political cartoons. So he was widely published right around the country. I think at one stage in as many as like 20 daily newspapers. And even before newspapers in Australia and of course there in America or in Canada and it's particularly in Britain, before they became, so we're talking about the 70s into the early 80s, before they became obviously politically biased or slanted. Yeah. When I say before they became obvious, I'm of the opinion that they always have been. It's just that they approach their bias with subtlety, so as not to
make it obvious.
So as well, yeah. So as not to put people off from reading their stuff. So what has become now our conservative newspaper outlets and television, etc., as opposed to our left-leaning publications. They're predominantly very blatant about their biases now, and that's common around the world, as you know.
Oh yeah.
So it's just one of those things. And the other, I always smile when someone says, actor. What I've done is I've appeared, the way I explain it, I've appeared in, I think 6 or 7 movies so far, and I wouldn't exactly. I mean, I was trying to.
You're doing a good job acting now. Like you're acting like you're enjoying talking to me.
Yes, but we both already know.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. That's why we're repeating the process, and we always seem to have. We always do have a great time.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that you enjoy. I mean, obviously, it's no big news to anyone, but you get the most out of a conversation with someone that you enjoy engaging with. I noticed the other day it's been big news right around the world. Obviously, many of the meetings that some of our world leaders are having with one another, and I noticed that Donald is is very forthright when it comes to saying, you know, I don't enjoy talking to you. I don't want to talk to you, which
Oh
I
yeah,
think is,
yeah.
I think that's refreshing.
He's brutally honest.
That's what I'm saying. It's refreshingly honest because he's like the rest of us. We're tired of watching actors portraying themselves as people of the people,
Yeah,
or
good point.
representing the people. And you're sitting here watching this person and you're thinking, you know, you're full of shit for a start, because like you're not talking our language, you're not addressing our issues, you're
Right.
telling us, you're not speaking or representing us. And I think the other glaring example of the person who is the most critical of is the clown that's now the Prime Minister of England. I mean,
Oh, Keir
he
Starmer.
he has no. People say, "Oh, he has no idea what the common." He has every idea of what the common people are thinking. He just doesn't care.
He doesn't. He's a puppet. He's a clown. I don't care for
Yep.
him. I listened to
Yep.
George Galloway. I don't know if you get George Galloway.
Yes, follow
But
him.
George
Follow
is
him.
great. And
Mm,
yeah, Keir Starmer is something else. Before we go any
mm.
further, I wanted to see, have you, this week we lost legendary guitarist Ace Frehley. And
Yes.
I'm not sure if, have you ever met Ace or interacted with
No.
him? No?
No, I haven't. I was many years ago. A friend of mine who I met him when he was quite young, and he was a real metal head, and he ran a merchandising company, and they did some merchandising for the Rosie Tats, and later on he became. He's a big man and quite physically capable. He's trained martial arts, etc., and boxing, and so it became known when he was doing merchandising for overseas acts that he was a big bloke, and very street savvy, and so he developed into doing security,
Oh, okay.
and it was many years ago. He said to me, he said, you know, I'm really excited because he was a huge Kiss fan, as most of us are. And he said, you know, they're coming, and we're going to do security. And he said, come to the shows. And I said, yeah, I'd love to come. You know, because I mean, I think everyone deserves to have seen Kiss live in their lifetime. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like even if you're not really 100% into
The
that
music.
sort of the rock pop sort of thing. Yeah, it's Kiss are or were a phenomenon of the entertainment business that you know, like no other. You know,
Right.
on the same scale as the Rolling Stones. I still love the Rolling Stones music, but the last time I saw them see a show, I saw them do a show. It was more about the circus. It was more about the trappings. It was more about
Yeah.
the, you know, the huge
Visual.
production.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the same time, the same thing. The last time I saw it, which was many years ago, because Phil was still playing with AC/DC and Malcolm, and yeah, and I thought, well, okay, where can you go from here is only into a bigger production, and that's what's happened uh, to rock music.
Right.
Um, is it's you know, like where you've got those. Not that I'm the slightest bit interested, but you know, the biggest names in the business now are people like Taylor Swift
Yeah.
and the other people like that. That clown from England, that big fat queer guy. Um, uh, um, you know, from what I've seen on Facebook or excerpts from their shows, there's nothing going on without the production.
Right.
Because
Right.
the artists, in my view, and I mean, this is a real indicator of like I'm rapidly getting old, because I'm looking at these people and going, you know what, I just don't. I don't hear substance.
Right.
It's like a while ago. I was at home at weekend. We've finished working for the year. We start again early next year, as our last year as a
Right.
band.
Right.
But so I've had some time on my hands, and I've started watching. I mean, I'd watch things like Tulsa King and
Hmm.
series, but every now and again I'll look for some musical stuff. Like
Right.
I love the some of the big specials. Anyway, I've clicked onto this one and it popped up, and it was Neil Young, and it
Okay.
wasn't so long ago because he looked old and he was grey haired and thinning but like he was so powerful, and
Hmm.
when he was with the band it was just extraordinarily good, so
Right.
simple but just passionate and driving, and the songs, and then he did some stuff just playing acoustic guitar, and I just thought, like, and I don't care if I sound like I'm old and I'm stuck in the past, but that was quality music by a quality artist.
Right.
And
Right.
then I look at things like that Pommy bloke, or some of the the brown people that are supposed to be big or are big in America,
Hmm.
um, and people like Taylor Swift and a handful of others who's pop people,
Yeah.
and I just think, like, it's vacuous. There's just, without, I mean, I listened to, I punish myself by listening to the lyrics, and I just think they just
They're,
ramble.
they're
It's just
dumbed down.
it's just yeah, it's just mumbling, rambling, and there's very little meter. There's no poetry in the lyrics. That they don't
Right.
attempt to rhyme. They don't. There's no sort of sense of movement and beauty.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, um, like, in contrast, like to Neil Young. I mean, his songs are extraordinary.
Right.
You
Right.
know, there's some country bands that I've got onto in recent years too. Um, I've been listening to a lot of uh, there's a group of men. They've got a girl in now. They had a big hit with a Neil Young
Oh, okay.
song, but they're called the Brothers Comatose, and
Oh, okay.
they like Appalachian music, and I'm very
Okay.
much into that. Very much into that at the moment. Country
Hmm.
music, So
Yeah.
so I've come back full circle, But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't mind
I
some country myself. Like I'm Kenny Chesney, um, Brad Paisley, most chicks. I'm just kidding. But actually, the Dixie
well,
Chicks changed their names to I think the Chicks a few years ago. So I wanted to ask you about something that we talked about during our last interview. You'd asked me because you were looking through your catalog of letters and stuff and fan mail, and we're still trying to get a hold of a woman. Do you have that letter?
oh yes, 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 yes.
Maybe this
Um,
will push some buttons. We
uh,
can find out who she is.
yes, yeah. Actually, I was just talking about it the other day, um, and your name came up. I was talking about it to Catherine, and yeah, she said, "Well, pull the letter out, and we'll photo." I scanned it and sent it to her, and she's going to send you a
Yeah, I've
copy.
got it.
I don't know if that's, but it's a beautiful letter,
Yeah, if you
and
could
and
read
it's
it, that'd be great. And then we'll
yes, I
share it.
shall, and it's dated the 6th of March, 2010. So it's a long
15
time ago,
years ago.
15 years ago, and it's written to my then management,
Yeah,
and it's from a young woman who. Shall I read it to you? Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's really lovely. Her name is. She identifies herself as. Her email is Miss Deb. Um, Deb Lillis, Lillis,
Okay.
and it's from subject fan from Gananoque, Ontario. That's my
Okay.
pronunciation.
Yeah,
And it says,
that's near Kingston, which is a city of about 60,000. So she might have some reachers move there. But yeah,
yeah,
Deb
because
lives from Kanakwe.
her her postal address is 129,000 Island Parkway, Gananoque, Ontario, and then it's got a K7G2V4 Canada. Anyway, it says Two Rose Tattoo. My name is Deb, and I totally love all your music. Scarred for Life is the greatest album ever. I know that you probably don't ever get a chance to read all the letters from all your fans, but I figured I would write to you anyway. I am in grade 8, and my dad has been teaching me to play acoustic guitar for almost a year now. He is a great teacher and a great dad. He has promised to get me an electric guitar for a graduation gift in June. My dad loves your music too, and he has all your music. He's going to teach me one of your songs. I want to do something nice for my dad this year for Father's Day. Since he collects autographs, I was hoping that there was some way I can get your autograph to give to him. Dad says I'm too young for eBay, but I do work every Sunday afternoon at the hockey rink and would be able to pay for it. I imagine she's offering to pay for the autograph.
Yeah.
God bless her socks. I love you a lot, and I really hope to hear from you. Your music pal, Deb Lillis. And the address is 129,000 Island Parkway. Yeah, anyway, what happened was I used to go through the mail at the office of the management there that I had at the time, and I would separate them into piles. Some requests I felt were it was appropriate for the girl that worked there doing all the mail for her to answer in a standardized way.
Yeah,
And then
for
there
sure.
were there were other letters. It asked for autographs, and I would autograph photos there and accompany them with the letter. And then the young woman that worked that did all the mail would send the autograph off too. But this letter struck me, and I was really touched by it for some reason. And I remember reacting to it, and I said, "No, I'm going to take that." So I put it in. I put it with a, when you call those pads, and they've got like a spine in there,
Oh,
and
a
I
folder,
opened
like
it
a
up.
folder, like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
folder.
Um,
They have string
actually,
on them, right?
I have one here,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
they've got like a spring
Oh,
bound
okay,
here.
little note binder.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just so what I did was, and I have several of them, each for a different function. Anyway, long story short, I put the letter inside the cover on the first page. So as soon as
Oh,
I
okay.
opened it up, there it was, and I meant to bring it home to answer it like straight away, but in a personal way. I was going to write a
Oh, wow.
handwritten letter. Going to write a handwritten letter to young Deb and send her some photographs and that I'd autographed for her dad, as she
Nice.
says, for his Father's Day. God bless her heart. And anyway, I brought it home and I put them in a cupboard here. This is my office, and I put the spines, the notepads, if you like, in a cupboard. And for some
Right.
reason, it just stayed there for years. And some years ago, only a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I decided that I was going to go through the whole office. I went through my library and I chucked out lots of books, and I sort of tidied up
Right.
after years and years of stuff piling up, right? I had stuff everywhere. And because I write notes all the time for
Is that right
lyrics.
about the time that you got invited to be on that show, the reality show Hoarders? No, just kidding.
Right. That's the reason I got invited.
I'm just
Absolutely.
kidding.
So anyway, I came about, this is only a couple of years ago, I came across Deb's letter, and I was again struck by it. And I thought, oh, I meant to do that and I never did it. And I thought, well, it's too late now. And then, um, I just thought to myself, you know what? No, I was affected, quite, quite emotionally affected by the letter when I first read it. And that reaction stuck with me. And I thought, no, I'm going to try and find this kid. And I didn't know how. And then we started doing our podcasts only a few
Yeah.
years ago.
Mhm.
And you came up, and I thought, wow, there was this connection. So I went looking for the letter yet again, and I found it. And I thought, okay, we're going to. So I replied to the email. Yes, I did, and didn't get a reply. And then, yeah, so wrote
She
to
might
the
not be
address.
using that email anymore. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah. And
so I've,
I'm concerned. I'm concerned. Obviously, sorry. Just to
no, it's
my
okay.
my sensitivity about it is that Dad may have passed.
I thought of that too, and then I thought, well, maybe he hasn't because I think when I was thinking about it, I thought it was way back. But then when I saw the screenshot the other day that Kat sent me, I'm thinking the girl would have been maybe 15, and so she's only 30, and her dad might have been 50 by now because
Yeah,
2002.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
So grade 8. How old are the kids in grade 8 there?
I'm thinking 13, 14, something like that.
Mm, mm.
So I'm thinking. So, anyways, I sent out some uh, uh, some feelers, and then also Cass sent some feelers. But I got in touch with the town of Ganakwe today. Somebody that's in administration. They've been there for years, and they sent me back a nice letter, and she said, "Oh, I googled Angry Anderson. He's awesome, isn't he?" Like, because I told her the whole story in an email, and
Fabulous.
she
Thank you.
said she
Thank you
knows
for
the
that.
address specifically. It's actually not in Ganakwe, but it's in called a town of Leeds, which is like a little, maybe a little hamlet or something just out of Ganakwe. But she
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
said she's going to put on her Nancy Drew hat, is what she said in the email. And she goes, I'm going to talk to a few people in the community and see if they know of the Lillis family. So there's a start for us.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate
Oh, I
that
mean,
greatly. Because I would dearly love, if she's still around, if she's still alive. I would love to, after all this time, and first of all, of course, apologise for not getting back to her straight away, but to know her a little bit better. Just like maybe have a conversation with her, maybe WhatsApp or Zoom or whatever, and just
yeah.
because I was so I was so touched by the letter initially,
Yeah,
and
because she's doing everything on behalf of her father as a, so that's just a
yes,
kind gesture.
yeah,
Want to hear a unique story? I have, Rick Emmett of Triumph fame, the guitarist for Triumph, Canadian
yeah, okay,
band.
uh-huh,
You got
uh-huh,
Russian, you got
yep.
Triumph. Well, Triumph is big too. So,
Mm.
anyways, I was
I'm well,
interviewing,
I'm well aware of them.
yeah, I was interviewing Dwayne Johnson, and he's currently a fill-in for Leonard Skinner now, and he's a
Oh,
young kid.
okay.
And so we had talked during an email or a podcast, and he told me the story how he wrote Rick Emmett a letter by hand, and he mailed it off. And he got home from school one day, like 20 years ago. Rick Emmett, who is like almost like the Geddy Lee, the Neil Peart, the Alex Lifeson of Canada, he's like that big. He took the
Wow.
time to handwrite a letter to Dwayne Johnson, and Dwayne got home from school one day and there's a letter from Canada, and he opened it up and it was Rick Emmett. And so he broke down during our interview into tears And I told him off camera, I said, listen, man, I think I can get you in touch with Rick. And he says, are you kidding me? So I actually emailed Rick. Rick emailed him, and they had a correspondence. And so things like that, for you to be able to tell this young lady, you know what, and I'm sure she's aware that you're busy, you might not have seen the letter. I think it would be great. So anybody knows anybody in the Kingston, Ontario area, Ganakwe specifically, email me, Ernest Skinner, 2671 at yahoo.com. But we've got Nancy Drew on the case as well. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Fabulous. I really hope we can find Deb.
yeah.
Because like I said,
I'm thinking
for
right
some
now
reason,
the reason I'm not able to find a Deb Lillis is because she might be married, change her last name.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's one
for
of the
sure.
reasons.
Yeah.
So with respect to fan mail, what's the weirdest fan mail request you've got? And I'm sure I know the answer to this. I mean, no,
I'm
not
sure
that
you
one.
don't.
No, not that one. But the other part of the question is, have you been asked to go visit people that were sick over the years? I'm sure you have.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, to visit people in hospital, um, to talk to troubled children,
Yeah.
teenagers, to people's weddings, obviously. Well, when I say obviously,
Well, Scott
but
and Charlene, right?
yeah, really. um, and funerals, etc. But during the 80s, oh yeah, I've been to a bunch of funerals, a lot of biker funerals, because Rosie Tats, obviously, when I say obviously, we have a big biking following right around the world, because we were all associated. Well, most of us in the early days were associated with motorcycles, and I've told this before. My club is the veterans.
You didn't hear what I said, did you? I said,
Sorry,
you said you're associated with motorcycles, and I go, and crime. I'm just kidding.
No, that period of my life was a long time ago.
I know, I'm just teasing you. I'm just talking about the facade with the jacket. I mean, people think, outlaws, obviously.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, Ernest, one of the things that has changed in time is the whole face of biking and bikers.
Okay.
And it's very much apparent here, but it's very much apparent around the world as well. I mean, a lot of the early bikers, like my original club was a club called the Vigilantes, and I joined the Vigilantes when I bought my first motorcycle. So I was still in my late teens, and my friend, a close friend of mine, and we both bought motorcycles, Triumphs, and started to ride. And we quickly came to the notice of other motorcycle riders in our area, and they belonged to a gang or a club called the Vigilantes, and they weren't what
we froze there for a second.
Became known as the 1%er, but they did too.
Okay.
Yeah, it says your internet connection is unstable.
Well, that happens from time. I mean, we're only 16 hours away the other side of the planet, so I think we're doing good.
I love that story. I've got to tell you this story. There's this story, and there's a guy that goes out into the streets of cities in America and just interviews people, right? And he's talking to this bunch of girls. And she said, you know what I don't get? One of the girls says, she's like in her late teens, early 20s, quite attractive. And there's a group of them, and they're obviously out, having a party night out. And she says, you know what I really don't get? And the guy goes, what's that? And she says, well, she said, I just found out England is, say, 20 hours in front of us. And she said, so why don't they just tell us what's going to happen? And the guy with the microphone just looks at her, incredulous, right? He looks at the camera with this, like, like, really? Is someone that dumb? And she was dead serious. She was dead serious. She said,
her math is wrong too, because here in like the closest major city I'm near is Toronto or New York, and England is only 5 hours ahead, not 20.
Right. But it's like she just come across the concept that because the world, supposedly, we won't get into that, but
I'm all with it.
Revolves, and so on another part of there's 2 points to this, which I think to me were hugely entertaining. Was that she's just come across in her 20s, early 20s, the concept that there's parts of the world that reach 12 o'clock before you do, because the world's a ball and it revolves, etc. So that's the first time she's come across that concept. But then she says, well, they're ahead of us in time. Why don't they just tell us what's going to happen? And I
think I saw that one, and it turns out she's a major in geography and no.
It's even better.
Yeah, I mean,
or astronomy. I can't believe that there are people.
She's probably like the one person that you send your girlfriend to the you say, you want to take the car and go to the store and get me some spark plugs and get me some turn fluid or turn signal fluid. She'd probably be asking the guy, turn signal fluid. Yeah, can I get some of that fluid for my turn signals? No. Anyways.
A left-handed screwdriver.
Left-handed, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, really. Anyway, where were we?
Well, we were talking about fans and visiting.
Yes. Well, I was invited, and this is a story that will go into the book. I was invited to go to visit someone.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the risk of sounding indelicate, it was a 1%er biker, and he was from a very, very high profile club here in Australia. And he was young, and when I say young, he probably would have been in his mid to late 20s. Anyway, the band's playing there, and he contacted me got my number from someone else. Like I said, my association, or the band's association, with a lot of 1%er clubs. Anyway, having said that, so he said, my girlfriend is a huge fan. And he said, I want to do something really, really special for her. And he said to her, if there was one thing that you could have, anything. And she said, I'd like to fuck Angry Anderson.
So how was it?
He said, just don't kiss her.
And
that was the stipulation. So he said, righto, I want you to go and spend a night with my girl. But he said, no kissing. So that was the strangest. That was pretty sensational, actually.
Hey, what we do back in the day stays back in the day, unless you have a podcast.
Well, it was just one of those. I just thought, like, you can't be serious, right? This is my initial reaction. And then as the night wore on, and we were consuming lots of powders and lots of bourbon and smoke, and as you did in those days, you just and then like he said, righto, it's time. So it's time. So he took me to meet this girl, because the girls weren't allowed in the clubhouse, strippers and stuff, but not girlfriends and wives.
Yeah, no.
So he took me there and introduced me, and she was really lovely. I mean, really, none too bright, but then again, that's okay.
Those are the little fringe benefits of being a musician that you don't think of at the beginning.
Well, that was what she wanted for her birthday. So
did he pay you?
No, certainly not.
So there you go. It wasn't against the law, people.
No.
It was safe.
Oh yeah, I can't be bought.
No.
Yeah.
There you go. Coming from a 1%ers, Angry, you're going to do this favor for me, sure.
It was a bit like that, yeah. Like, I wasn't going to say no. I said, well, okay, if you're okay with it. He goes, yeah, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. Just don't kiss her. You just don't kiss her. And I said, okay, I can do that. So
or not do that.
Yeah.
That's a weird story. That's a great story.
We did end up doing a lot of kissing, but that's another story too. But, anyway, God. Having said that, yeah.
Is he still around?
Oh, I don't think so. I haven't heard from him for probably 20, maybe 30 years.
Okay, well, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, and I still know some people within the club, but I think something happened to him. I think unfortunately,
that lifestyle.
Lifestyle. They either get killed, or they get involved in car crashes with motorcycles, and
diseases from consumption, for sure.
Yeah,
so you're talking about a book earlier. Now you're writing your memoirs. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, I suppose, for want of a better word, memoirs. Yeah. It'll finish when the band finishes, which is the end of next year.
Right.
Because the band always took its birthday from the magic hour of 0 or 12 o'clock on New Year's Eve 1975 so we went on stage at this club at about 11:30, and then they came out and stopped us, said, because they'd said to us earlier, we'll stop you about a minute to 12, and then observe New Year's, and then you can finish playing the set. So about a minute to so we stopped and sang Old Lang Syne, and everyone was kissing and celebrating the new year, and then the band started playing again. So we always took our birthday from, because that appealed to Pete's quirky sense of everything. He's quite a quirky bloke, eccentric, if you like, and he sort of said, so from now on, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, so 12 o'clock, bang, that's our birthday. So
it doesn't matter where you are, there's going to be a ton of people at your birthday, right? New Year's Eve.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, we kind of hope so, but we haven't always played over the years, as it turns out. We haven't always played on New Year's Eve, but we've played more New Year's Eve's gigs into New Year's Day than we haven't, in other words. So as most, a lot of bands play New Year's Eve gigs.
Oh yeah, that's where the money is. So where's the last show? Where's the last show?
It's a secret. I can't tell you.
Oh, okay. I seen you guys recently played Toronto, but not in Canada. You recently played a
No,
show
no. Well,
in Australia.
we can't we can't find, and we haven't given up.
No, no, what
We're
I'm
trying
saying
to.
is on your recent set list, there was a
Mm.
hotel or a show you played Toronto, but it wasn't Canada, it was
Oh
in
yeah,
Australia.
yeah, exactly. Yes, the Toronto Hotel. Yes, which is that actual building has changed hands quite a few times over the years because like the reason that we're winding the band up next year is because it's the 50th anniversary.
Yeah,
So the band will be would have been in existence for 50 years, which is a nice round figure to go out on.
yeah, yeah.
And plus the fact, it's no secret that I'm in my late 70s. So, um,
Mm.
each minute's are closer to 80, which is, years away from being 90. And I really don't want to live past 90.
Well, as long as you're healthy,
Oh,
live
yeah, I
if you're
suppose.
not
But,
healthy. But actually, I saw you sing last year. I wasn't at the show, but I saw a video of you at the whiskey, and you sounded just exactly like you've always sounded. It was amazing. And I thought that show was great because you announced everybody in the band, but you said couldn't be here because of visa restrictions. So and so couldn't come as well because of probation restrictions. And I thought that was, but
well, yeah, Dougie, our drummer, it's no secret, but he did 6 years out of 8 for
stuff,
um, yeah
stuff.
stuff again to do with outlaw motorcycle people. But anyway, that's another story. And and he was silly. He was addicted to ice, and
Oh, you don't want to
he'd
come
be
across ICE in the States these days. That's the immigration, that's Trump's thing with it's called ICE, the immigration
yeah, yeah, yeah,
group. They'll throw you right out
yeah,
onto the
yeah.
boat. So I
Well,
mean, it's
I kind of think that I'm not going to comment because I'm not there and I don't know.
yeah,
I only see what I see in the news and on the infernal machine.
yeah.
Um, so distorted and polluted or censored information at best. But I think one of the things, I think going back to Starmer, one of the things that's now turning against him, and I fear for Europe, having been there over the years, we saw it coming in
Oh,
the early.
excuse me, Anger, just for a second here. Just gonna have a. Sorry
Is
about
that a
that.
waste? Is that a
Well,
waste paper bin?
no, it's a beer. It's a beer can. Yeah, it's a waste.
That's fantastic. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it. I love it. But yeah, I think one of the things that we've all realised is that and I remember writing about this politically many, many years ago, um, and talking about it in interviews here locally in Australia, mainly about how I realised that they were going to or had weaponized immigration
yeah,
to break down the fabric of the Western societies because they saw that as an impediment to world order or the new world
right.
order.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when I first started talking about it, it was not known as the new world order. It was just called the world order, and it came out of when I was reading the history that immediately followed the Second World War because I was fascinated, as the Romans did, and as politicians have done forever. Is that they go to war, and I use the Romans because they were the most extensive war machine and most successful, apart from Genghis Khan. Um, they conquered so much of Europe, and that added to their downfall. But they politicized certain aspects of divide and conquer, and so having read that history, I was aware of the fact that the principles of warfare and changing borders. This land's now our land.
Right.
That you know, we're governors over this, and that happened through Europe with Rome. And history kind of, as we both know, repeats itself. So I was very interested in the way that they divided Europe predominantly, but you know, there was the Middle East. Obviously now we're seeing, you know, the tragedy of giving, when they created, as they say, the state of Israel, and that whole folly with Gaza, etc. But so I was fascinated by the politics that followed the Second World War, and I was more distracted, you know, as we all were in those days, by the atrocities in, you know, dealing with the atrocities of the legacy, if you like, or the aftermath of the German occupation, and we were distracted from what was going on in Russia. And I was reading, every now and again you'd come across something and it would relate to Russia, and you go, oh, okay. So they've calculated, you know, 20 million people died from famine, huge numbers, like staggering numbers, and no one in the worldwide press seemed to be talking about it. The only thing that they were talking about was, and to suit their own purposes, that Russia was the emerging superpower that the West had.
You mean the Soviet Union, because there's a difference now.
Yeah. The way that the Soviet Union was established, and the way that they murdered, starved, executed, politically, socially, whatever, millions and millions and millions of people. And we were distracted away from even caring about what was going on by the emergence of them as a military superpower. So we were fascinated by the fact, because, you know, as you know, we were trying to deal with the enormity of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and what that meant to the rest of the world. So all of a sudden, history was turned around, pivoted on a point, and it was going in this direction. Then all of a sudden, no, we're headed in a completely different direction because of two bombs. And you know, and I was fascinated by, going back to the Roman experience. I'd read quite a bit about, as a young man, about Rome and its conquest of Europe, and its attempted conquest of the British Isles, and why they ever wanted that, I'll never know. But that's another story. But I can understand why they wanted Africa and Europe, because mineral and wood and the things that
oil in Africa, for sure.
Well, I'm not sure they may have been aware of the sort of the spices trade in those days, but eventually. So I was interested in the carve up of Europe after the Second World War, and I became aware, particularly in the 70s, when people started to write what they used to call gonzo journalism, or journalists all of a sudden started to write about stuff they weren't supposed to write about, and historically hadn't been able to, or allowed to, or were kept from. So this was all of a sudden during the 70s. Not only did drugs help us expand our consciousness, but we were exposed to realities going on in the world that some people were only fragmentally aware of. You know, like the war in Korea. Even when it was going on full blown, I've read in many publications that the censorship in America was, you know, they really closely guarded the realities of the Korean War, and it was only after the Korean War, same with Vietnam, that the American public became aware of the enormity the commitment
Yep.
of America to Korea. And of course now we're dealing with the results thereof. So I became fascinated with, and I became aware of this new world order very, very
Yeah.
early on.
Well, with your saying about censorship, it's unique. Like it's happening now, but it's bringing others around. But one thing I would like to say, and the CIA, it's been unwrapped so much in the last so many years, has been involved in Hollywood's movie making industry, and one
Oh,
like
yes.
MASH was, I think I read this, but I'm just gonna just insinuate my opinion. MASH was a show to not glamorize war, but to kind of make it lighter for the public to, not be protesting as much against it. And one thing I forgot to ask you, last time I talked to you, I asked you if you pick up a book called Chaos by Tom O'Neill. Did you happen to get that book?
No, I'd forgotten all about it, to tell you the truth, Ernest. Can you send me a photograph of the
Well, I'll
cover,
send you.
please,
I'll send you a link to eBay for it. I'll send it through Cat.
so I can buy it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, send it to me direct.
because it's about Epstein. No, it's not Epstein. Tom O'Neill wrote it, and it's about the CIA's involvement with the Charles Manson Helter Skelter murders and all of the stuff behind that. It's a real fascinating book. Candace Owens brought it to my attention. I don't know if you've heard of Candace Owens.
Oh, I love that woman. What do
Yeah,
you think
Candace.
about what do you think about her dogged
I think she's right.
determination? You
I
do,
think
eh?
she's right. I think Macron's wife is a man. We're talking about
Whoa!
Brigitte Macron. That's what I'm talking about.
No, no, no. But yes, well, I've seen. No, I'm talking about Kirk.
Oh, Charlie Kirk. I haven't read too
Yeah,
much into, but I mean, to me, it's a
she
no-brainer. This is like
she's
he was assassinated. There was not one. The person they arrested, in my opinion, from what I've read, I don't think he did it. Like there was no blood spewing out of it. The
yep,
gun apparently used would, go through a moose or a bull, no problem. And they showed videos of people cleaning up, taking down the camera, like just minutes after the murder. So I think that was an inside job myself.
yep.
I don't.
Candace has dedicated. Apparently, her and Kirk were quite close, very close, in fact.
Yeah.
She says she describes him as one of her best friends and someone that she loved dearly. And she said the whole thing stinks.
Oh
No
yeah.
autopsy, no doctor's certificate, blah blah blah. It's a bit like
Yeah.
JFK. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, wait a minute. There's too many processes that weren't followed that
Yeah.
you follow with anyone that gets killed. Someone that's publicly assassinated.
Yeah.
You would think that would bring more authenticity, if you like, to the investigation. It would be
Yeah, you
more
leave the crime
methodical.
scene as it is. You don't tear down the set, cameras and all.
Anyway, she says that the widow was involved, as was
Erica.
suggested
Oh,
when that Jackie Kennedy was involved in
wow.
plotting John's assassination
I
way
didn't
back
know that.
when. Yeah,
Wow.
well, just do some follow up with
Yeah, I
Candace.
will. I follow her as well as I follow a Kim Iverson is great. I don't know if you follow her. Kim
No,
Iverson is a great
no,
podcaster. Kim Iverson.
no.
She worked for The Hill and a bunch of publications, and especially during COVID, she was calling Fauci out. And then so they were going to interview Fauci, and she was like, "Well, I want to interview him. I was the only critic." And so they wouldn't even let her in the studio, and so she quit. So now she's independent. Her name is Kim Iverson, Iversen. She's great. George
Send all
Galloway.
send all this to me, please.
Yeah, yeah. George
And
Galloway
I'll
is
tell
great.
you, oh, I love George.
Maria
they have just our foreign minister or whatever he is, he's a communist. He has just denied Candace Owen a visa
Yeah,
to
I heard.
do a lecture tour in Australia.
Yeah, I
Not
heard.
because she's going to incite. They say, oh, she's going to upset the Islamic population and blah blah blah. Like, who gives a fuck? But anyway, having said that's
Yeah,
just my opinion. Um,
yeah.
um, but to deny a journalist, that's that's the new world. Welcome to the new world order.
That's it.
Welcome to the
Look
what
at
the fuck?
Starmer with digital IDs in
Yeah.
Britain. They want to bring on. We all knew
Well,
this was coming years ago, like you and I that have read about it, but it's starting.
well, I remember, and I think I did say this to you once before. I remember I used to love, like most of us at my age, we loved our comic books. And there was a wonderful comic book. There was the Phantom. There was a few others that were really hero driven. They were esoteric in
Yeah.
their like you said before about MASH, and I'd love to get back to that because it's a very interesting view, which I've had opinion, but I'm delighted that you have that view of it because but there was remember there was a guy called Dick Tracy,
Yeah, I've heard of them for sure. Yeah.
and he used to have a watch that you could speak into,
Okay. Yeah.
and that was a smartwatch.
That was 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Absolutely. I was a teenager when I was reading Dick Tracy.
All this
And I
technology
used,
we see now was developed 30, 40
I,
years ago. They just roll it out when they run out of money. So they say, okay, now we'll roll it out. They're
Alvin
30 ahead of us.
Toffler, Alvin Toffler, it was an American author, and he wrote a book called Future Shock, which changed journalism, I think, in a big way forevermore. And it was a huge bestseller called Future Shock. And he's written a bunch of books since then, but that's the one that brought him to fame. And he said a very prophetic thing. He said, by the time you finish reading this book, a lot of what I've talked about that was a projection into the future would have already come to pass. So now, when I was a kid, there were things that going back to Dick Tracy talking into a watch, there were things that were portrayed in comic books because we didn't have, we're talking about, television was just a fledgling thing in those days. So there wasn't the exposing of ideas. It was all about frivolous entertainment, but which was fabulous because it was an age of innocence. But there was things that we were reading about in comic books, etc., and never realizing or never imagining that, well, one day this will be real.
Yeah.
And those things have come to pass.
Yeah. A lot of the things on Star Trek, like just the concept of things.
Yeah. The dematerialization, beam me up, Scotty. We now know, or if rumor has any substance, we now know that they've been dealing with that since the Philadelphia experiment, trying to dematerialize something through the forces of nature, which is electromagnetism or electro fields or frequencies, and then transporting it somewhere else and then reassembling it.
With quantum physics, they've done studies. I think Michio Kaku is one of them. I heard through the Art Bell show years ago, talking about, and I'm not into astrophysicism, my physicist or astrophysics myself, but I do listen so I can repeat. And they were saying that one atom that they can manipulate, let's say in Bern, Switzerland or something, the reciprocal atom on the other side of the planet will engage at the same time, causing effect, because I don't know, maybe splitting the atom is the wrong term. So astrophysicists watching my show, please don't come at me. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's the concept of one proton that's maneuvered has a sister proton on the other side of the world, they would put in an experiment. And once this one moves, the other one is moved.
I've
So,
heard that.
so everything, I mean, just because we can't see it and touch it doesn't mean that it's not like if everything was clear right now, we'd see billions of lines going through all this electricity and frequencies
Yeah.
and stuff that we don't see.
Yep. Yep.
So this has been another lesson by Ernest and Andrew Anderson on physics. Don't do any physics.
See, that's what I'm saying. We're going back to when you said about our conversations. The reason that well, from my part, the reason that's so enjoyable is because yes, they are. I love the rapport, but and that's that's a humanity thing. Even though that we engage through an electronic device,
Right.
we bring the fact that we're two men talking to one another about stuff. So we include the humanity into the process,
Right.
even though we're not sitting in a room, or a bar having a beer together, but we are. So, but the thing about it is, and I hope that your viewers,
both of them.
I'm hoping that they get as much out of it.
Well, I'm sure they do. I mean,
as we do, because we get a lot.
I still get comments on our previous two interviews every once in a while. I'll look in my YouTube studio and it'll say comments. So I'll reply when I can, thanks for the comment. Please subscribe. And I get them every once in a while from the interviews we've done. Oh, Angry's great, blah, blah, blah. I live down here in Australia. I've seen him play 3 or 4 times. Oh, what a great man. What a great politician. I mean, so our engagement and our rapport does come off to the audience. And I've been told that's why they kind of like my interviews. They're not kind of question, answer. I give myself a couple notes if I need them, and then I just wing it, just like a conversation.
Yeah. I was going to say conversational, because and you can always get. I'm of the opinion. I mean, let's face it. What we do is fairly long-winded. So you can't. It's not the sort of thing that television would be interested in, apart from the way that you apply television. And there's a growing number of people, going back to that political thing I was about to allude to before, about the changing the way people are starting to view very, very skeptically our so-called leaders. I mean, we have an absolute dud here in Australia.
They're gangs in themselves.
Well, they yes, I mean, yes, they are. Absolutely. Perfectly put, perfectly worded. The thing about it is they don't have that's just gorgeous. That's gorgeous. They don't have the interest, because they're more interested in not just running the world, but creating a world that they want, regardless of the human cost.
Well, that's the thing. There's so much evil and greed.
Yeah.
Then they lump it off on, well, it's following orders. Well, I'm a party member, like the Liberal Party or the Conservative Party or the NDP in Canada. Well, I mean, I don't agree with that, Ernest, but I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it's a camaraderie. We don't agree on everything, but I mean, for me, during COVID, what they did to Canadians especially, it was just unforgivable.
They carried out, we in Australia have no doubt that we suffered so badly, because what they've done over the years, and this is where the more radical writer and broadcaster are starting to really join the dots and put things together in perspective for people, because they realize that most people, it's not that they're dumb, they're preoccupied with other aspects of their life, and
that's the word. Yeah,
they're trying to find enough money to feed your family. So so the thing about it is that there are some people, and yourself included, that put together podcasts, if you like, or broadcasts for people, so that they get a glimpse of, or I'm of the opinion that part of our role in being of notoriety of some description, one way or the other, is to, and I was the concept that I'm about to allude to was given to me by a spiritual master who spiritually was able to set me on a path that I desperately needed to be on, to discover, my spirituality, my
Right.
spiritual being. And he said the best thing that we can do, apart from live a good life, which is the best way of explaining some things that can be explained in words, but are better explained by, like, in leading a virtuous life
Right.
teaches virtue.
Hmm.
So you teach more by example than you do by by instruction. So, and he said, so what we can do as communicators is that we can plant seeds in people's consciousness and being,
Yeah.
and trusting the divine, trusting the natural order of all things.
Yeah.
That seed, like seeds do, will grow regardless. That's why seeds grow. Grass grows up through concrete. I
Yeah.
mean, water will find a way into a crack that you can't see,
Yeah.
and then eventually there'll be a seed under there, and it'll find its way up. And through the sheer force of nature, this crack that you couldn't see, all of a sudden, grass comes up through that crack, and
Yeah.
that illustrates the wonderment of the natural order, but also the strength of it.
Yeah.
Because water had to find a way to water that seed. Then the seed, in an effort to come through, like the water came through a crack you couldn't see with your eye, because water can do that. So that's how powerful the wonderment is. And if we can plant those little seeds in people's minds, we are living a worthwhile life, and we're having a worthwhile experience that we can pass on to others.
And that's a good way of putting it, because when I was younger, I would try to force my opinion on, say, my daughter when she's growing up. But as you get older, and I'm not perfect yet,
None
yet,
of us are.
um, but you're right. Planting seeds is what you can do. That's all you can do is
Mm.
plant seeds, and it's up to the divine to nourish that seed to make it
Yes.
grow within a
Yep.
person or within a cause. So it's,
Yep.
yeah, I think you're right. I think living a good life and live by example, planting a seed of example. There's all subconscious involved too. People will look at the way a person behaves and acts. They're around that person enough, might rub off. But if you tell somebody
Yep.
you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, certain things it'll apply, like say martial arts, but other things in life by, oh, I know what you're saying. Exactly.
Mm. Well, see, there you go. Martial arts, and most people these days realize it's not just about a physicality. We were quickly educated that martial arts, in their inception and the way that they're taught properly, is about defense, not offense.
Right.
But like most things, when the Western world, like nuclear fission, that could have nuclear fission could be powering the world, supplying electricity for the world cheaply,
Yep.
because there's
100%.
so much core product to work with in the world. And you can't imagine that nature didn't put that stuff, because there's very few mistakes, if any mistakes, in nature. So
Mhm.
if there's radioactive material in the ground to be had in in enormous amounts, as there is oil. I read a very interesting thing the other day that they now realise, or scientists are of the opinion that oil is not the product of rotting prehistoric vegetation.
Oh, it's not
It's
the
a
fossils.
Yeah, it's a more recent. Anyway, that's another story. But um, yeah, getting back to it, yeah, I think there's concepts that we're now only beginning to grasp, and the martial arts thing is because we only when we first became aware of Asian arts of fighting, which is martial arts, we were fascinated by the physicality of it.
Right.
But when you watch these kids, like there's an 11-year-old kid who's a sensei. He runs a school. He's 11, and he's a grand master. He's been training since he was 2, and now he trains. He's Shaolin, and I got a mate who's a Shaolin. And many, I'm talking 30, 40 years ago when I first became aware of this guy, this mate, and he said, I got into it because he was a very deeply troubled youth.
Okay.
And one of his teachers said, I practice this karate
right.
discipline. And he said, I think it'll calm you down. So he went to something that we looked at as being all about the physicality, and it gave him peace of mind. But the Orientals, the Asians who invented these art forms of defense, they knew that it had a reciprocally balanced application. So if you could defend yourself with it, you could use it then as an offense, because the two things balance out, right? So, but the main thing that they realized was that how it trained your mind.
Yeah, discipline.
But peace of mind.
Yeah. You know who is a great karate artist that I look up to? Cosmo Kramer.
Yes.
From Seinfeld.
In real life.
No, I'm just joking. He's the Seinfeld character.
No,
he's like, karate isn't here, Jerry. It's here, here, and here. That's where your katra is. And then Jerry goes, yeah, with punching and kicking.
Yes, well, but you see, the real Kramer, the real person,
Michael Richards,
he's well versed in Asian arts.
I didn't realize that. Michael Richards.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe more in the philosophic.
Yeah.
But I remember there was an interview with him, and he was saying, he said he very much into, because he was explaining the beauty of Jerry Seinfeld and the other guy who was the director,
George Alexander. That would have been George.
The guy that was behind the scenes. He had his own TV show.
Larry David.
Bingo, Larry David. And he was saying how unlike, this was the brilliance of David and Seinfeld, because they wrote and produced and brought into being what we now know as one of the great comedic institutions of history. It's an incredibly clever show,
right?
But they took people that weren't like the character. Like, the only one that actually plays himself in the show is Jerry.
Yeah.
Because Kramer in real life, the character, the person that plays Kramer, and George and Elaine, and even
Newman.
Hello Newman.
Yeah.
They're nothing like. Oh, he's He's fantastic. You know, I think one of the great scenes is he plays in Jurassic Park
I see.
when
I've
he's
never seen that movie, to be honest with you. I should see it.
oh right.
He's
Well,
in the
there's
movie,
a
or isn't Jurassic
it,
Park an animated movie or no?
no.
Okay.
There's about 10 of them,
Okay.
but he's in the very first one, and I won't tell you anything about the scene. It's
Okay.
just magical because when you see it, you got to see Jurassic Park at least 1, 2, and 3. I
Okay.
reckon.
I'm trying to think of Newman's name, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Chris or I don't know. So I'm a name guy. One of those things.
Well,
Speaking of
you see,
names, go ahead.
well, each of those characters, George, Newman, Kramer, Elaine, and
Jerry.
even and Jerry, of course. But Jerry is more like Jerry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you see him in interview, they left it like that because they wanted because he doesn't actually say he's bland, but he doesn't see himself as much as an extroverted character or caricature as
Right.
the others.
Well, I believe
He's
that. I think the rest blossom, but without him, like the nucleus, it wouldn't happen. So he's like the unsung hero in it. Like, funny story is, I hated Seinfeld for years. I never watched it because I would walk by the TV and I'd see Jerry doing his stand up, which was bad stand up, but he was a struggling comedian. Only what would happen if I would get sick and didn't go to work or school, that I would just watch through an episode. And I don't know how many times I watched 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there to get hooked. But then I went and got the box set of
mm,
DVDs. And
mm,
now on Netflix, I'll either watch that or an Office at least once or twice every 2 days. Reruns. I could watch
yeah,
them a million times.
yeah. Well, you know that when you talk about his earlier days, yes, I think there's a sound argument for the fact that his humour was rather bland, but
Yeah.
that was kind of I think compared to his comedic genius, if you like, that was developed, that it was meant to be like one of my favourite comedians. And I'm pretty sure he was the originator of that bland delivery. He's an American guy. I think his surname was Newnham, or but
Is he an
he
actor
was
or
no,
stand-up comedian?
he was a comedian, and he used to deliver in this flat
Steve
monotone.
Stephen Wright?
No, before him,
Okay.
we're
Okay.
talking like 50s, 60s.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm pretty sure his surname was Newman.
Okay.
Newman.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I googled Newman a second ago. Wayne Knight is his name. Who played Newman?
okay, yeah. Um, what was that guy's Siri? American comedian, surname Newman.
I found this on the web.
Rob Newman. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if you don't say
I
thank you, you don't respect her, then next time you ask a question, it's okay. Fuck you, angry. Go get an encyclopedia.
Yeah, pretty much. I actually swore once, and she was still on. I go, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And she goes, "I don't react to that kind of language." And I went, "Whoa, yeah, look out!"
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Um.
So
Oh,
and
this
so
guy.
he was a stand-up comedian, you're saying, and his delivery
Yeah,
was just
yeah,
monotone and
yeah. It was flat. It was monotone. It was as funny as fuck. Um.
wow. Huh.
Wait a
Trying
minute.
to think.
Google.
So in the 50s and 60s, a little bit before my time. Wasn't Benny Hill. Because he was
No.
English.
Yeah. No. He was very overt. So Google, where's Google? Here we Chrome, Google, go Chrome. Gary Newman.
There's a Randy Newman that loved LA.
No, it wasn't Randy.
No, I know.
He was a singer. He was a singer.
Yeah. See, that's my bad humor.
I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna go. This is gonna drive me.
Maybe famous monotone American comedians of the 50s and 60s. That might work.
Yeah.
Actually, I might be interviewing coming up soon. Out, do you ever hear of the Bob and Tom show where you are? Just an American radio show.
No.
Well, I might be interviewing Greg Hahn. He's the opposite of Stephen Wright. He comes out and he spazzes.
I think it's Steve Wright.
Steve Wright?
I think it's him. I'm not too sure. Was he a New York comedian?
Not too sure, but he was long hair. He kind of looked like a serial killer.
That's him. And he used to really talk like slowly. Anyway, one of my favorite jokes of all time, he said, I love my apartment. I have a view of the building next door. And he said, and I open my window and a little bird comes down and lands on my windowsill. And he says, and I said, hey, bird, stay for breakfast. We're having eggs.
Jeez. That might be Stephen Wright, yeah.
Yeah, it's him. He just, that's that sort of dry, slow, like he's stoned all the time.
Yeah.
That's and he was straggly haired, and but he just said, hey, bird, stay for breakfast. We're having eggs. And I just thought that was the funniest fucking thing I'd ever heard. Because it's so clever.
If it's the same guy, I think he said once, goes, yeah, my girlfriend left me. That's a bummer. And that was it. It's a bummer. It's going to be rough.
That's got to be the same guy we're talking about.
Yeah, Stephen Wright.
Yeah.
So speaking of name dropping, I don't want to forget here. You recently worked with Phil Rudd of AC/DC on Buster Brown. You guys did the 1974 album?
That was actually, no, we didn't. I stay in contact with Phil. Every few months we chat on the phone. He's pretty much confined to New Zealand these days for one reason or another. We never talk about the current situation with the band. But getting back to Buster, that was done by one of the guitar players, John Moon.
Okay.
He can no longer play because he's got some arthritic condition in his hand. So he spends a lot of time songwriting. Him and the original piano player, keyboard player, Chris Wilson from Buster. And they've remained best friends since the Buster Brown days. And so what they did was they contacted all of us, because Geordie Leach, who was not the original bass player, but he played on that album, and he was actually Phil got Geordie Leach into Buster Brown, and so we all stay in contact, but it was a studio. Chris and John approached the rest of us and said, look, we're just going to fool around with the original recording and try to produce a better sounding album than was, and we're just going to do it electronically. So they did, and they put it out, and yes, it's sonically it sounds fresher, if you like, or different.
Right.
But I still think I still like the naivety, if you like, of the original pressing.
The raw.
Yeah, because it's a very naive recording. It was basically we just set up, played the songs, and recorded them. There was very very little overdubbing done. There was a couple of guitar parts. Yeah, I mean it's but that new release was mainly a studio exercise that John and Chris did on their own. Phil was involved recently. I think the most recent thing that I'm aware of that he's done, he played with the New Zealand Philharmonic or someone, but a big orchestra. Wow. There's some footage online. You'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
And he played not only AC/DC stuff to orchestra arrangements, but other stuff as well. Proving yet again, he's still one of the great rock and roll drummers that I've ever worked with, or I think that has played rock and roll. I mean, but then again, like just recently, there's been a whole lot of stuff re-emerging yet again about the Zeppelin years and the historiology there, etc. Yeah. And I mean, John Henry Bonham, to me, I don't think there's the greatest rock and roll drummer, because a lot of people don't realize that they were a real rock and roll band. I mean, they didn't always play shuffle or swing groove type feels, right. But there was always the swing in the back of it, and that was mainly to do with the fact that John, well, they were all grounded in the blues. Mm-hmm. So that influence is so strong. It's just that they went beyond the traditional sort of application of the groove, which the Tats on the new songs, we've sort of gone back to that. We're writing now for another album, and we've really gone back to that, to the roots. Not that we ever strayed too far from them, but a lot of the songs that we're working on now have got that real sort of 60s groove, very really swings, because Paul DeMarco, our drummer, is he's the best swing drummer I've ever worked with ever.
Oh wow.
I think he's a far better swing drummer than most drummers in Australia for a start. But I think there was a guy, you were talking about the whiskey, young Scotty, who played drums with us at the whiskey shows. His grounding or his history was blues, playing in blues bands and rockabilly type, like the Thunderbirds, sort of. Yeah, that's sort of like real 50s. So he's got that great swing thing going on too.
Right.
And Johnny, he introduces himself as who played bass on the ship, on the cruise, the Malt cruise, but at the 2 nights at the whiskey, He plays with LA Guns, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. LA Guns. Yeah.
He's a lovely player too. He's got that swing.
Yeah.
What they call a swagger. You know.
Swagger. Yeah. Swagger. That's the word.
Yeah.
So right now in Australia, what good rock bands would you say if somebody said, okay, name 3 or 4, not necessarily emerging rock bands, but rock bands that are in their prime, like our type of music, 80s rock, that kind of thing?
We worked with a couple. Oh, pardon me. There's a 3-piece talking about rockabilly. There's a 3-piece rockabilly type band. They're sort of like rockabilly punk.
Okay.
And they're called The Living End. They've been around forever. I like them. Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
The Angels, but they've been around for years.
Oh well, yeah, they're still going. They're still playing shows. The 2 original guitar players are still there, but they've got these other people, and you know, yeah. I mean, the songs are great. The songs are great, and you know, they're still working around. But like you say, they've been around forever.
Whatever happened to Silverchair?
Well, it's funny. Silverchair. I think there's been talk of them reuniting, but there's so much bad blood there. I ran into earlier on this year. It was around June, July. We're at the airport, and I ran into just trying to think of his name now. The singer, the guitar player, Neil.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So. Yeah, and he just got off a flight, and he was pretty drunk at the time. But anyway, I've always been a fan. I mean, I think most people in
Daniel Johns, isn't he the singer?
Daniel, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I'm thinking of the bass player, but yeah, but Daniel, yeah, he's a lovely bloke, really, and you know, like, so talented. I mean, can't believe he's done some projects since then.
Okay.
But they've been very quirky, very arty, sort of alternative music, which is, you know, doesn't have a huge broad appeal. Right. But he's very intense.
Yeah. Well,
as an artist, and you know, he's very conscious of protecting. I think I don't know. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I think I've known him since, like, I first met him when they were just kids, like teenagers, and they just started and they had their first big record.
Yeah.
And you know, they grew up in a city, Newcastle, which is north of here. It's an industrial city, and it was great, very popular territory for Rosie Tats, and so a lot of the local musicians were into, you know, you know, cultures of the Angels, Rose Tattoo, a bunch of like real hardcore rock bands.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we hit it off on that level. But he's always been and I've always loved this about him, apart from his songwriting abilities. He's very much aware, very cynical of the politics, if you like, of the music industry. Yeah. And he's very, very careful about maintaining which is very admirable. I admire this in him about his authenticity. He's never like he struggled with the worldwide fame.
Mm-hmm.
More
Yeah,
more
for
so
sure.
more so than the drummer and the bass player. They were
Well,
more.
he was like he was the showman. He was the guitar player, the singer. He was like right there. So he was like he was put in a
Yeah,
position maybe he doesn't like
yeah,
of being the spotlight.
yeah, and some of the early animosity, and I don't think I'm giving anything away here. I think it's well documented in their stories.
Yeah.
It was, I think he came in for a lot of undue criticism and or my words, jealousy from the others.
Yeah.
That he was elevated to this because they're all, really cute looking when they were teenagers, when they first started, had their first
Yeah.
hit album. They were all, cute looking, long haired. But he was just, which is a lot of people, why a lot of people have wondered about his sexuality. He used to wear makeup. He was gorgeous looking boy. And affected almost an effeminate persona, if you like. A bit sort of like I remember in the early days him being compared to David Bowie,
Oh, okay.
not just in his physical demeanor, but his quirky songwriting abilities and his wonderful control over melodies. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of those early songs, the melodies, the arrangements are just gorgeous. I mean, they're so
Yeah.
simple, so anthemic, so singable. All the components of a successful pop music platform, and he was elevated very, very quickly, and he has since said that in public and many interviews that he struggled with that. But I think other people struggle with it too, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I think one of the things that a lot of people have to realize that if a band has something quite unique, it's usually it's like Mick Jagger and the Stones. It's like Bon Scott, or in recent years, Brian with AC/DC.
Freddie Mercury.
The epitome, the
Yeah.
epitome. That was a stroke of genius. But it was partly because the stars did line up for Queen. That Freddie in the movie, and apparently it's a very, very accurate depiction. It's not that they didn't want him; they just didn't really. First of all, they kind
Get
of
it.
felt like, well, he's so quirky. Is he going to fit in?
Yeah. Is he gonna make us look bad? Is he gonna
Yeah,
put
yeah,
agencies up, put them off
yeah,
from hiring us? Like, yeah, I know, I understand. Yeah.
yeah.
Not
But
because I've been there, but as an
he was
observer.
yeah. Well, like the rest of us. I mean, once you saw him perform, and I mean, I really liked the musical composition. I liked the musical part of Queen.
Hmm.
I got into the theatrics, both vocally and visually, later.
Right.
But like most people, you hear Bohemian Rhapsody and you go like, that may be not my genre of music, but fuck me, like
Yeah.
it was
It's great.
extraordinary,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think one of the things that appealed to me about Freddie Mercury was the way he used his voice, and I got into his theatrics and the way he used that to project the music.
Yeah.
Like in the movie, they talk about the guy who plays the devil's advocate, the record guy who is famous. He plays a really good part in that too. He says, like, people don't want to listen to histrionics. They don't want to listen to, like, he didn't get it.
No.
And he was the record company. And you kind of think, the band's view of it was, yeah, but that's the point. You don't get it.
Yeah.
You know,
You're going to
and
get a
that's
lot of people
why.
that don't get it and they want to go and see it and figure out why people got it.
Yeah, yeah, and they were very clever and insightful in those early days of Queen, where once they got him, they realised that they were going to produce like Zeppelin. That you see the interviews now in Zeppelin, and they got together in and you hear other people talk about like Ronnie Wood and Jeff Beck and talk about when they all hung together,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden Jimmy goes off and forms this band, and then after they've rehearsed, they start playing gigs, and so all the old mates coming to see their old mates band.
Yeah.
And it's like what the fuck are they doing? What the fuck? This is amazing shit. Like,
Yeah.
but it's not what they used to play together, like in the Yardbirds or in the bands that they played together in.
Yeah.
It's more blues based, blah blah blah. We both understand the history of it, but yeah, they when those four people got together in a room, all of a sudden something was created that they went, fuck, like we're onto something here. This is, like it's not like, oh yeah, but the creativity. I mean,
yeah,
they did things with music where like their history didn't matter. I mean, the history mattered in so much as they brought all the influences into. But and you listen to that first album, it's like the Stones' first album, 12 by 5. It's very traditional.
Yeah.
The Stones covered some classic blues stuff. The Zeppelin's first album was it was only a glimpse of what was coming.
So every
Getting
album
back to
another level.
Oh, sensational playing. The sonics on it. I listen to it now, and I just think, and it's the thing I listen to now is not digitally remastered. It's the original recording, and it's if you crank it up loud enough, it's just fucking gigantic.
You play it on a turntable? On a turntable? Yeah, for sure. That's the best way. A lot of people are going back to the turntable with their album releases. They're releasing vinyl.
Absolutely. Yeah. I before, when I was about to allude to the rocking and rolling, if I was to pick one Zeppelin album, I love In From the Outdoor as a collection. I mean, I like all their albums. I love their albums. But for that album, and now there's a track on there where they play like Queen did. Remember Queen? Thing called love. So that's like that's a band saying we can still play swing.
That's right.
But In From the Outdoor, Zeppelin play a rockabilly track.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like Eddie Cochran.
Yeah.
It's got that beautiful it's got that, it just swings, and you think, you can't do that unless you can do it.
Yeah. Just comes out.
Yeah.
You kind of reminded me of Sinatra, the way you're doing that. Sinatra,
one of my favorite singers.
Yeah.
See, he's one of those singers, even though I wouldn't say he was an influence, but he definitely was an influence, because when I first started falling in love with vocalists as the other instrument, as the lead instrument.
Yeah.
Apart from the women, because the first voices I ever fell in love with were all women, Mahalia, Bessie Smith, Odetta, Billie Holiday, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love with their vocal deliveries, you know, the way that they phrased and the melodic sliding in and out around the music. And I just thought, like, it just sort of said something to me when I was a kid, like, fuck, I want to sing like that. I want to sing the blues. I want to sing swing, you know, and because it was the first music I fell in love with. And your first love, as you know, it stays with you forever. And then later I started to listen to and my uncle Ivan, who is he introduced me to music. And he had some recordings by an American singer called, his surname was Robson, and he was most famous. He was most famous for, he was the lead singer in the music Porgy and Bess.
Oh, okay.
And I've got about a half a dozen copies of the original Porgy and Bess with Robson singing "Old Man River, that old man river, you knew nothing.
There's a very
You
famous
must know
Canadian,
something." Go on.
That's great. There's a very famous Canadian singer I went and saw in Mexico City years ago. I went backpacking. Michael Bublé. Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah.
He's
He was huge here for quite a few years.
I never was into the Sinatra stuff myself, but I went to this show because I was in Mexico City, and he's a fellow Canadian. He sold out the arena 2 nights in a row. I was floored.
Yeah.
I was floored by his singing.
Well, see, he was very much into jazz or swing.
Yeah.
I can't leave this alone. I've got to do this. Hang on.
It's okay. Take your time.
No, that's not him. Yeah, it's driving me nuts that I can't.
Who you trying to bring up? Robson or?
Yeah, Newman.
Oh, Newman. Stephen Wright?
American comedian. No, wait a minute. No. I'm off on the wrong completely. Here, we're on to something. We're on to something.
Everybody subscribe to the channel while writing out his grocery list.
So, Ernest, I found him.
Yeah.
And I had it all wrong. It's not Newman, it's Newhart.
Oh, Bob Newhart.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a show called Newhart as well.
Well, he was the master of that deadpan delivery.
Okay. Yeah, did you ever see his television show called Newhart?
Yeah.
So I watched that show too.
It was big, I think, in the 60s, 70s, maybe.
I think it was the 70s because I'm 54. I was born in 71, so I remember seeing the show and it was in color. So I think it was the 70s. Yeah, Newhart. That was a good show.
Yeah, Rob Newhart.
Yeah.
Yes, that was him. And I loved that his delivery, and he just spoke that one monotone all the time, and it just like, and that was part of his humor.
Yeah.
That he just could talk about the simplest of things I'll tell you, talking about comedic um, revisits. I found I wanted to look at because I love my kids put me onto years ago American Bill Burr,
Oh,
who I
Bill
think
Burr.
is just
Yeah. He's
I think
political. He's good. Yeah.
yeah, he's very clever.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was looking back and I thought, you know what? Do you remember? It was Gracie Allen. George always smoked a cigar. No, he always carried a cigar. And I remember seeing him in an interview years later. They said, you always had the cigar, but you never smoked it. And he goes,
Who
well,
is
I
that? Who is
smoked.
that?
His name was, I'm sure it was George was his name, and the Gracie was his wife.
Was he
And they
really,
did
really old?
oh yeah, it was like
Are
black
you
and
talking
white
about the guy
days.
that was on the Tonight Show all the
Oh,
time?
George Burns. George
Oh,
Burns.
Sorry.
What's going on?
My dumb cat here. Well, you're not a dumb cat. You're just a cat. So George Burns, yeah.
George and
He
Gracie.
had those little spectacles.
Yeah, well, you see, you see, they used to do a show, and then at the end of the show, they'd do a stand-up routine, and he would just talk. He would just talk to her conversationally,
Yeah,
and she would come back with these skitsy, scatterbrained, and it's some of the funniest comedy you'll ever see. It's beautifully timed, beautifully written, beautifully executed. And I just realized we've been talking for 2 hours.
that's okay.
Yes, I know, but I hate to be rude, but I've got to go somewhere soon.
No, that's okay. I was thinking the same thing. You know what though? Good comedian for you because you like comedy. Google Jerry D. Actually, I'll send those links. I'll send them to Kat, as well as the Kim Iverson thing.
Have you got my email?
Yeah. So I'll get it in a second here off the camera. So, what's the opposite of unsubscribe?
Subscribe.
What's the opposite of unsubscribe?
Do you know what? You know what? Really, I am never surprised anymore with how much dumb shit we come up with. Have you noticed on social media now, they say that person was unalived.
I haven't seen that one, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You have a look at.
Well, you go to the hospital. They're trying to pass off in hospitals birthing areas or a birthing person. It's not a woman anymore. It's a birthing person because they got into that transgender nonsense.
Well, have a fuck. Don't get me started. We can talk about that next time if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to get really controversial.
Oh, I love it.
I've got to the stage here in Australia where I am starting to say things on stage. And it infuriates some people, and I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I care about people's feelings, but I won't put my name to absurdity. And a biological man with a penis, should not be in a fucking girl's toilet or at school in a change room. And I don't care. Dress up. I back in the day. I used to know people that dressed up as women and used to do men that were women, transsexuals or whatever, and they used to do this show here in a place called King's Cross, which is a red light area back in the day, and they used to do a whole review. Like you've got that woman Divine or whatever she is over there.
Yeah,
we had one. We had one here, and the woman that ran it was like nationally famous,
right?
And was on every TV show, and like blah blah blah. And her name was Carlotta, and and she was famous. She became a multi-millionaire out of running this all-male dress up as women review. They had their own drag review, and they had their own club where they used to perform, and it was like people who came from. So there was nothing. Acceptance of drag people was nothing new in Australia, as it wasn't in America. And
Right.
the only reason it became objectionable is because they started to say, well, there are no limits, and we have to have total acceptance. But where they crossed the line was when they included children.
Yeah, yeah. They have something
You know,
here in Canada before I let you go. Where I live, they have drag story time where these drag people, I don't care what you do with your private lives, but they would have story time at the local libraries, and a lot of people are against that. It's like, it's kind of weird. It's like having a stranger read to you, but then the stranger is even stranger. No offense to drag people, my friends, but it's, to me, it's my opinion. I just think it's a bit over the line. So that's it.
yeah. There's a famous drag person in Australia, and I can't think of her name now, but it's one of those sexual play on words, and she
Yeah.
has started posting things on Facebook saying drag was never about telling 5-year-olds that it's okay for two men to fuck one another.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she said drag is about men dressing up as women. It's a fetish.
Yep.
Some of us can make a living because she works as a comedian. She does the bar, the club circuit,
Yeah.
and very famous here. Does TV, not as much as she used to, but still makes a living out of doing a drag show. Like there's her and about 4 or 5 of others, and she's a stand-up comedian, and packs out joints all around Australia. Always has. Totally accepted. But she's come out, her and a lot of her contemporaries, and said that don't put us in with all that shit. We're not about trying to bend kids,
Yeah.
primary school kids, by
100%.
performing drag shows. She said drag shows are for adults.
Sorry.
They're for men and women who like to look at other men who dress up as women and are extravagant in every sense. And she's made a very interesting an observation. Most of them, 98% of all drag people, or 95%, let's say 90%, aren't queer. They're straight.
Mm-hmm.
They just have a fetish about dressing up as women, but they're not gay. They're not homosexual.
Right. Right.
It's just in the same way. And I remember talking to some people. I said, no, you can't say that gay men are all predators. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
Being a pedophile is a completely different. Very few pedophiles are gay. There are some, but most of them are straight. They just have a warped obsession with children.
Something wrong in the brain.
Yeah. And as someone who was a survivor,
Yeah.
you can't tell me what I know. You can't tell me that what I know is right, is wrong. Gay doesn't mean you're a pedophile, and what's happening is there's this shift where like, oh, all queer people they're all dangerous. Well, no, they're not.
No, it's not true at all.
Some are very dangerous. Anyway, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, some straight people are the same. So the question I'm just trying to get you to answer is just it's a straight question. So what is the opposite of unsubscribe? Angry? My channel, I want people to subscribe to it. So what's the opposite of unsubscribe?
Subscribe to.
Everybody do as Angry Anderson says and subscribe to the channel, or he's going to get pissed off. He'll be pissed off, Anderson. Right here.
Oh, okay. I can't see that. But
that's okay.
That's the link. That's the link, brothers and sisters. Go there or be square.
Thanks, Angry.
Till next time, brother.